All right, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We're still in Genesis, but we are making our good time now. We're moving right on through. So what did we talk about last time? Anybody remember? Jacob. And what did he do last time? He what?
Sent lots of stuff to Esau.
Yeah, sent lots of stuff to Esau. He ran away from Laban, and then he got up to where he's, here comes Esau. Why was he sending so much stuff to Esau? What? Didn't want him to come and kill him, yes. And the message was Esau says hi, and he's bringing 400 men with him. It's like, I don't think so. So he sends all his, he splits his tribe up, I guess you could say, to two different camps. That way, if Esau attacks, one camp will buy it, but the other one might get away. And then he does something. He takes three different sets of herds and sends them to Esau. And so that's where we left it. At this point, Esau is on his way, and Jacob is there with his family still, and they're in the Jabbok River. Not in the river. They're at the Jabbok River. That'd be a good way to hide. Just hold your breath and stay underwater until Esau leaves. Right. All right, so we're going to start in verse 22. Chapter 32, verse 22. That night, Jacob got up and took his two wives, his two female servants, and his 11 sons and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. So they are. Where's Jabbok? So they're over in here, in this area here. Okay. About midway. Well, yeah, about midway between Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea on the east side. So he crosses the ford at, no, he did not have a ford. Probably used a Dodge. That's what he would like to do right now is dodge Esau. So he crosses the ford of Jabbok with his family. Okay. They're headed south. Now, after he sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. So he sends all these things over. He sends family and herds over the Jabbok. And he is now left alone. He goes back on the other side of Jabbok. I'm not sure why, but he does. So he is left alone. And here we go, verse 24. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he wrestles with the man, okay? And this man, we find out, is God. So it's like Jesus pre-incarnate, all right? And we often see that whenever you see the angel of God appeared to someone, that is a human manifestation of God. Not always, but it usually ends up being that. And you can tell it because as the angel is speaking, the angel starts saying something that only God could do. Okay, like I bless you, or after he sneezed, but I bless you, or I'm going to do this for you. Things only God can do. And this is one of those cases. So he is wrestling with a man who is God. And he said he wrestles with him till daybreak. When the man saw he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip. So he hits Jacob's hip here and causes it to dislocate a little bit, which would be painful. But Jacob did not stop. He kept going. He was tenacious. Okay. And Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." I think Jacob had some idea of who he was wrestling with. Verse 27, the man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." So he gets a new name. His name is Israel. He struggles with God, which is what he was actually doing. but also he struggles with humans and God. Now, this would be important to Jacob because who is he about to face? Esau, who may be wanting to kill him. And now Jacob knows God is with me, and I will struggle, and I overcome in the struggle. Okay, so that was an important message to Jacob. It would also be an important message to those who are listening to Moses for the first time hearing this story. They are struggling in the wilderness, but they will overcome. They will continue to struggle and overcome, and then enter into the promised land and overcome the promised land. God will give it to them. Verse 29, Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So this is definitely God. God is blessing Jacob. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." So he calls the place Peniel, which is face of God. And he says, I've seen the face of God, yet my life was spared. Now, he didn't really see the face of God. No one has seen the face of God. God is a spirit and may or may not have a face. And remember, God is a Trinity with Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So you cannot see the face of God, but he saw the representation that God manifested to him. Did it look like Jesus? We don't know. But it looked like a man, a human. Okay. Verse 31, the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. So Jacob now has a limp, and will have it for the rest of his life. It's not one of those things that's going to get fixed by itself. So he's leaving Peniel. He is passing now, going back south across the Jabbok to his family, and he has this limp. Now think about this. Every time he takes a step, what is he reminded of? I struggle with God. God is with me. I struggle with humans and overcome. God is with me every time he takes a step. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Verse 32, therefore to this day the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip.
Yeah.
Now, he's talking about the tendon that's attached to his socket of the hip.
No.
You're talking about.
No. That's what was hurt, was that tendon in the socket of Jacob's hip. Mm-hmm. Out of respect or whatever, the Jews will not eat that part of an animal.
Okay.
I don't know why you'd want to anyway, but they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure somebody sitting there listening to Moses goes, "Oh, that's why we don't do that." Okay. All right, verse 33. Or not verse 33, chapter 33. There's a difference. And Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. He goes, "Oh, rats, hide." So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. Okay, so notice so he's dividing the family up, okay, among the children. Notice the order here. Female servants and your children, you are the most expendable to me. You get up front. Leah, you're the next expendable. You and your kids get up front. Rachel, you're most important to me with Joseph. You stay back here. Sometimes if you just read through these things fast, you don't catch those things. This little mind game that he's playing. Verse 3, he himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. So this is being subservient to his brother. Even though Esau should have been subservient to Jacob because Jacob was the one who was the patriarch of the family. Well, not yet. Isaac isn't dead yet, but he was the first. He had the right of the firstborn. Esau should have been servant to him, but Jacob takes on this servant's position. I think Jacob was truly sorry for what he did to Esau. I think after spending all that time with Laban deceiving him, he said, now I know how Esau felt. So they're headed towards each other. Verse 4, but Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. And no, there was not a knife in his hand where he stabbed him in the back. He really was happy to see him. And they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. Who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, they are the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they bowed down. Esau asked, what's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord, he said. In other words, it's a bribe. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. Notice something here. God did not just totally wipe out Esau. God blessed Esau too. Probably not as much as he is Israel, but he blessed Esau. We read about Esau having 12 sons also, right? So it could have been same. Esau was very rich, and so he didn't lose out on anything by not getting these blessings. Yes.
So does that mean Jacob ran ahead of all family first?
Yeah, Jacob was first and bowed down. I guess he figured he can take me out and maybe the kids can run. The women, probably not so much, but the kids can. Remember, the kids probably are no more than 13 years old at this point because he served Laban 20 years. The first 7 years, there were no children because he wasn't married yet. Then he got married. And so the next 13 years, there were children that were coming along. So the kids are no more than 13 years old at this point. Trying to catch one of them is like trying to catch a rabbit. You're just not going to. So Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. Verse 10. No, please, said Jacob. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably. Isn't that interesting considering what just happened the night before? He saw the face of God, and now he's likening seeing Esau to the same thing. Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Now, part of this is just Middle Eastern bargaining, okay, and humility. If Esau had accepted it right away, it would have been an insult to Jacob. So you have to say, no, I don't want it. Yes, please take it. Okay, if you twist my arm, I'll take it. Okay, that's just part of the way, the culture there. So he has met Esau. Verse 12. Then Esau said, let us be on our way. I'll accompany you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are tender, and I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me, and the pace of the children until I come to my Lord in Seir. Okay, this really is not the truth. Considering that they just went 250 miles in 10 days. And I looked that up. It is 250 miles from Haran to where he is now. So that's 25 miles a day. That's quite a bit. And it's only about 50, 60 miles down to Seir. 2 days they could have had it. All right. And by the way, Seir is down here. Okay. Always get that cut off. I don't know why. So Jacob, I think, this is just my thoughts on it. I think Jacob did not want any more family ties. He didn't want to get into the same position he was in with Laban, where the family is saying, oh, well, stay, 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 and you can work for me. He didn't want that tie there. He wanted to be away from everyone and have his own family. So that's why he's refusing this offer from Esau. Plus, that was not the land that God had given them down south there. The land God has given him is Canaan, and it is over here from the Jordan River over this way. Okay. So he says no. Esau, verse 15, Esau said, then let me leave you some of my men with you. I don't think it was a military threat there. It's like, let me leave some of my men with you to help you along and help these flocks go, and you can come to me and Seir. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. Okay, so they part ways. Esau goes on and leaves, doesn't leave anybody there. And Jacob then moves to Succoth, which is right here. So he starts out right in here, right in Jacob, and he just moves over a little west to Succoth. He's still not crossed the Jordan into Canaan at this point. And Succoth means tents, shelters, means shelters. So he stayed there long enough that he made some permanent shelters. Okay, it wasn't just moving in tents. He made some permanent shelters there. So he may have spent a couple of years or so, several years there. And in fact, he probably did, considering what we're going to find out in chapter 34. Verse 18, after Jacob came from Padanaram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver, he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohe Israel, which means God is the God of Israel. Okay? Or El is the God of Israel. El just means God. So God is the God of Israel. So he moves from Shechem then, or Succoth then, crosses the Jordan River over here to Shechem. Right? He is now in Canaan. He buys this land near Shechem so his family can live there. Right? Now, if you remember, way back when we were doing Baby War, there was one girl that popped up, and her name was Dinah. She was the daughter of Leah. And so her brothers are Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Issachar. I think that's right. So here we go. Verse chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter Leah had born to Jacob, went out to visit the women of the land. When Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, the ruler of that area, saw her, he took her and raped her. So she was older now, a little bit older. And since she was one of the last ones on Leah, it's probable that they stayed in Succoth a few years for her to get up to the age where she would be desirable for this guy. But he takes her and rapes her. His heart was drawn to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. Really? You loved her after raping her? That makes no sense. And Shechem said to his father Hamor, give me this girl as my wife. Sounds like Samson. Give me that woman. So they're in what is called Shechem, the city of Shechem. Don't get confused. One of the sons of Hamor is named Shechem. Apparently he named the town after his son. So Shechem then comes and rapes Dinah. And then he wants to make it legitimate. I want her as a wife. All right. Verse 5. When Jacob heard that his daughter Dinah had been defiled, his sons were in the fields with his livestock, so he did nothing about it until they came home. Then Shechem's father Hamor went out to talk with Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the fields as soon as they heard what had happened. They were shocked and furious because Shechem had done an outrageous thing in Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, a thing that should not be done. So the family reaction is Jacob doesn't do anything about it just yet. He's going to play this out. Jacob was always calculating. So how are we going to play this out? The sons, meanwhile, are just furious. They are ready to take the guy apart, which I think it was my sister. I would be with the brothers. Let's take the guys apart. And Shechem had done an outrageous thing in Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, a thing that should not be done. So once again, these people that are listening to Moses right now, they're now being taught rape is not right. Rape is wrong. Raping and then deciding, oh, I'll marry that person, wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Okay? You marry and then you have relations. Yes.
To be very young because she was the last born. Leah had 6 sons before she had Dinah.
Yeah. So she was probably, I would say she may have been 13 at best. But back in those days, 13 was an old maid. But yeah, she was probably 13 at best. All right, verse 8, but Hamor said to them, my son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as his wife. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters and take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, and acquire property in it. So Hamor's offer is, hey, we'll take Dinah and then we can just swap daughters around. No big deal. Nowhere in here do we find that Hamor or Shechem has any remorse at all for what happened to Dinah, for what Shechem did to Dinah. And this is a good example. Just go ahead and let my son have her as a wife, and we'll just intermarry and combine assets and have fun and trade and party and everything. One big happy family.
But it didn't seem like Jacob had much remorse about it either.
I think he did. I think the sons did, and I think Jacob did, but he just showed it in a different way. Jacob was, like I said, calculating. He's trying to figure a way out of this without, well, you'll see the result later, without having people come and attack him. Because remember, you had a bunch of men at Shechem. He doesn't have that many men. So he can't really start a war. And remember when Abraham and Isaac went and thought, they'll kill me for my wife? This is one of those instances. They may decide to just attack and take Dinah for themselves. So Jacob is being very careful about this thing. Then Shechem, verse 11. Then Shechem said to Dinah's father and brothers, let me find favor in your eyes, and I will give you whatever you ask. Make the price for the bride and the gift I am to bring as great as you like, and I'll pay whatever you ask me. Only give me the young woman as my wife. So Shechem, now the son, says, hey, I will pay whatever you want to for the bride price. He could have just walked away. But he said, I'll pay whatever you want me to for the bride price. That's not remorse. That's, I want this woman, and I will pay whatever you want me to pay in order to have her. Verse 13. Now it's going to start getting interesting. Because their sister Dinah had been defiled, Jacob's sons replied deceitfully. Notice that's the family trait. Replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father Hamor. They said to them, we can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who is not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. We will enter into an agreement with with you on one condition only, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will give you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves. We'll settle among you and become one people with you. But if you will not agree to be circumcised, we'll take our sister and go. All right. So I wonder if part of Jacob's hesitancy in agreeing to this is he remembers what happened when Esau took Canaanite women as a wife, that it was just horrible. And so he doesn't want that to happen to his family. Now, the brothers, on the other hand, are just out to get the guys. So they come up with this plan. Instead of saying, okay, if you want to marry one of our daughters, then you have to be circumcised before the marriage. No, they said, if you want Dinah, all of you, all of the males have to be circumcised before we'll even give you Dinah. Now, if you all get circumcised, then we can consider, coming in and marrying each other, etc. So,
Bill, are the Hivites considered Canaanites?
yes,
Okay.
they live in Canaan. They are Canaanites. Okay, verse 18. Their proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem. The young man who was the most, think about Shechem. I don't have to pay anything. All I have to do is be circumcised. I'll do that. I'm making out like a bandit, he thinks. The young man who was the most, the proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem, the young man who was the most honored of all his father's family. So notice he was like the prime son here. That's why Hamor is spending so much time defending him. Lost no time in doing what they said because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak to the men of their city. Remember, all the business transactions went through the gate of the city. This is where the king would sit and hold court. So if you're going to talk to the city leaders, that's where you go. These men are friendly toward us, they said. Let them live in our land and trade in it. The land has plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters and they can marry ours. But the men will agree to live with us as one people only on the condition that our males be circumcised, as they themselves are. Won't their livestock, their property, and all their other animals become ours? So let us agree to their terms and they will settle among us. Okay, so Hamor is pitching this to the town council. And I don't think he was getting anywhere with we all need to be circumcised. It's like, I don't think so, dude. So he has to throw in the economic part. If we do this, won't we merge families and we will have control over all their livestock and trade and stuff? There's a power struggle right now between the two families. Are you going to do what Jacob's family wants to do and be circumcised? Or are you going to do what Hamor's family wants to do and have lots of trade and stuff and be in control of the trade, whereas Jacob's family wouldn't have any control of it? So he throws in this economic thing. Nothing is said about why this is being done in the first place, that Shechem raped Dinah. They just say, hey, let's do this. We can, if we all do this, then we can all be a part of their family. Verse 24. All the men went out to the city gate, who went out of the city gate, agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. So all of them became circumcised. All right? Must have been a circumcision party. All did it at one time. Verse 25. 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspecting city, killing every male. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. Okay, two important things here. Number one, their plan worked. They got everybody sore and in pain from being circumcised, and they went out and took them out. All of them. All the men. Why? Because not a single one of them denounced Shechem for raping Dinah. They were all complicit. They should have taken out Shechem.
Dinah was at their house.
That's the other important thing. Very good. Way to notice that Dinah was at Shechem's house. That means that at some point there was a wedding there. She did become Shechem's wife. All right. So she was at Shechem's house and they came and killed Shechem. That's going to become important later on when we discuss what happens to Dinah or may happen to Dinah. We don't know what happens to her exactly. So all the men are dead now. Verse 27, the sons of Jacob, the rest of them, came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks and herds and donkeys and everything else of theirs in the city and out in the fields. They carried off all their wealth and all their women and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Everything these people had was now theirs, including women and children. Verse 30. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, you have brought trouble on me by making me obnoxious to the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed. But they replied, should he have treated our sister like a prostitute? So Jacob's response is, guys, you shouldn't have done that. I understand why, but you shouldn't have done that because now all these people in Canaan can band together against us and take us out. They think we are aggressive and taking over territories. We're not. And the sons go, but should he be allowed to get away with it? What was the alternative? And you notice there's no response from Jacob on that. The answer is no. He should not have been allowed to do that. And these men who obviously had no remorse and were complicit in it, what's going to happen when we merge the families? They're going to rape our daughters and then think it's okay. Yes.
But were those men really complicit if they didn't know anything about the rape?
Have you ever lived in a small town?
Yeah.
They knew.
Okay.
Yeah. It just wasn't one of the things that was brought into play as far as the arguments. Yes.
What's the purpose of taking the women and children? What were
The women and the children were innocent in all this.
Yes,
So they went ahead and took them because at that time, the men would need to be taking care of these women and children. It was now their responsibility to take care of these people,
but not married.
not necessarily marry them. No.
They're never mentioned again.
No, I don't think so. Maybe in the next chapter, a little bit. Okay, so what about Dinah? What is her life like after this? I mean, she suffered horribly by being raped. And then she ended up, we think, married to the person. Well, being married is actually a better deal than not being married to him because now she can be considered a widow. But she still has the problem of when men wanted to marry somebody, they wanted a virgin. And she was no longer a virgin. Women in that time, if they did not have family to fall back on, which thankfully Dinah does, they would have gone into prostitution, had to go into prostitution to survive. Or find someone that didn't care and be a slave to somebody, anything like that. Dinah at least has brothers who are going to take care of her, no matter what, family who will take care of her. But she will never be married. And I'm sure there will be whispers about why she's not married. Oh, she was raped. So she can't, and she doesn't have any children, which is another thing that would be disgraceful to her. She does not have a good life coming up from this. Shechem took that all away. So Shechem stole her sense of security and confidence and gave her fear and shame. Now, this is an important chapter, not just because of Dinah's rape, but because of what Simeon and Levi did. It will come back to haunt them later in chapter 49, verses 5 through 7, when Jacob, Israel, is giving the blessings to the sons. Okay. They would be the second and third son of Leah. They should have a high priority over the other 8. Reuben is the firstborn. We're going to see what happens to Reuben here later. So this is going to have an effect on their inheritance and on their blessing. Okay. All right. Chapter 35. Moving on to Bethel. Then God said to Jacob, go up to Bethel and settle there and build an altar there to God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau. All right. So what is the situation here? Jacob is fearful because of what Simeon and Levi did. And he's afraid that these people are going to come and attack him, just like he thought Esau was going to come and attack him when he was running away from him the first time. Okay. And what happened the first time? Jacob got to Bethel. God appeared to him with that staircase, and he knew that God was with him. God is bringing Jacob back to Bethel to reassure him, I am with you. Go back, do what you did before, build an altar. The same like you did when you were fleeing Esau. Verse 2, so Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, get rid of the foreign gods you have with you and purify yourselves and change your clothes. Then come, let us go up to Bethel, where I will build an altar to God, and who answered me in the day of my distress, and who has been with me wherever I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods they had and the rings in their ears, and Jacob buried them under the oak at Shechem. Then they set out, and the terror of God fell on the towns all around him, so that no one pursued them. Okay, so what's the first thing that Jacob does?
Get rid of it.
Get rid of the gods. And who would have these gods? Well, Rachel had 2 of them. There were more than that, though. Who else would have these gods? The women and children they rescued, yes, that they took over. Jacob is saying, do away with these gods. We want you to be in line with us, to worship as we do. And if they come into the position where they worship like they do, then intermarrying is not a bad thing. Okay? Because the whole problem with their marriage was the religion. They would turn Israel, the children of Israel, against God. And we see that later on in their history. So Isaac has nothing to do with this. Jacob, I keep wanting to call it Israel, but he's still going by Jacob. Jacob is saying, let's get rid of these things. We're going to go back and restart, reboot, back to where I began. And so they did. They gave up all their earrings, which were part of the symbols of idol worship, gave up their idols. I'm wondering if Rebecca or Rachel gave up her idols. I hope. Can you imagine the scene? Rachel brings these idols and Jacob goes, where'd you get those? He goes, man, I need to write a note to Laban saying, sorry.
So I get hung up on little bitty things.
Mhm.
And twice here, it says, go up to Bethel when it's obviously south of Chet.
It always says go up to Jerusalem too, and that's because it's up a mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not about direction.
It's topography, not
Okay.
direction. Yeah. All right. So they set out, and notice the terror of God fell on the towns all around them, so no one pursued them. So if anybody thought, oh, these guys are being aggressive, we need to band together and go against them, no. God made it to where they felt that, you know what, these guys, don't touch them. Their God is more powerful than our God. Stay away. And so they came to Bethel. Jacob, verse 6, and all the people with him came to Luz, that is Bethel, in the land of Canaan. There he built an altar, and he called the place El Bethel, which is God of the house of God, or God of Bethel, because it was there that God revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. So they moved from Shechem down to Bethel, which is right here. Okay, not that far. Still heading south. And there's a reason he's heading south, not just because of the religious thing. Verse 8. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried under the oak outside Bethel. So it was named Alon Bakut, which means oak of weeping. So apparently there's this big oak at Bethel, and Deborah, who was Rebekah's nurse. Now, why would Rebekah's nurse be with this group? Rebekah's should have been back with Isaac. Well, remember, sometimes when the woman would get married, they would send their nurse or maid with them. That's how we ended up with Bilhah and the other one, with Leah and Rachel. Apparently, because Jacob was Mama's boy, Mama sent the nurse with Jacob when he ran from Esau. Okay, so she has been with him this whole time, his constant companion, his link to his family, actually, and now she has passed away. And she is buried in Bethel. This can't be talking about, okay, she was with Isaac, because Isaac never makes it, well, lost the map. Anyway, Isaac never makes it further north than Mamre, okay, which is still, they're going south. He never made it up to Bethel. So this has to be talking about Jacob heading south into Bethel, and as they are at Bethel, and this nurse dies. That is the last family tie that he has. It's broken. Esau has already moved south. His parents aren't around right now. So his last family tie was with that nurse, and that is done.
Was Esau still waiting for him to come back?
Esau, since he had experience with Jacob, he probably goes, yeah, he ain't coming.
He's not coming.
He's not coming.
Son of a gun.
Yeah. All right, verse 9. Now, after Jacob returned from Padan Aram, God appeared to him again and blessed him. God said to him, your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel. So we have this name change again. I'm not sure if Jacob has been hesitant to use that name, Israel, or what, but God says, your name is Israel. You have struggled with God. You have struggled with humans, and you have overcome. So he named him Israel. Verse 11, and God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and increase in number. A nation and a community of nations will come from you, and kings will be among your descendants. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I also give to you, and I will give this land to your descendants after you. Then God went up from him at the place where he had talked with him. So once again, Jacob gets this blessing, promise from God. It's the same promise that Abraham and Isaac have been given by God. He is the son of promise. And so God promises them the land and heirs and kings, and I will be with you. God has promised him everything that he promised to Abraham and Isaac once again. Verse 14, Jacob set up a stone pillar at the place where God had talked with him, and he poured out a drink offering on it. He also poured oil on it. Jacob called the place where God had talked with him Bethel. So he renames Bethel Bethel. Okay,
Yeah.
he's original. So he sets up a pillar. We've already talked about how these pillars are set up, and you can tell that somebody has been there. And he uses a drink offering and anoints it with oil, which is a way of religiously anointing this thing and saying this is a religious, a spiritual place. Okay. So once again, he creates another marker. Verse 16. Then they moved on from Bethel, while they were still some distance from Ephrath, or Ephratah, if you're reading Isaiah. Rachel began to give birth and had great difficulty. And as she was having great difficulty in childbirth, the midwife said to her, "Don't despair, for you have another son." As she breathed her last, for she was dying, she named her son Ben-Oni. But his father named him Benjamin. All right, so they're on their way. They're moving south from Bethel, and they're heading south. They're actually heading toward Mamre, which is where Isaac is. He's going to go see his father. He's moving down, and as they get near Bethlehem, which is Ephrath, okay, Bethlehem. So they get near there. Rachel is giving birth. So she's having another son. And she is dying as she does this. Okay, so with her last breath, she names her son Ben-Oni, which means something about struggle. Son of my struggle. Even with her last breath, she cannot help but struggle against her sister Leah. Son of my struggle. And my struggle has been with my sister to have more children than she has, to become the primary wife. And here I get another son and I'm dead. Thanks a lot, God. So, son of my struggle. But Jacob names him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. Strength, power, even though he will be the youngest of the children.
In Hebrew, it says it can also mean son of the south.
Son of the South?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's what the NIV says.
Maybe he grew up in Georgia?
Yeah. Good fiddle player.
Yeah. It's flag, anyway. So Benjamin is born, son of my right hand, or son of the South. Verse 19, so Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Over her tomb, Jacob set up a pillar, and to this day, that pillar marks Rachel's tomb. So once again, Jacob sets up this pillar. They bury Rachel there. They set up this pillar, and it marked where Rachel was buried. At this time in history, I believe there is a mosque there. They've identified the place and put a mosque there. So this was something, the fact that they could identify the place this far down means that this is a place Israel understood where it was the whole time. They kept track of it. Even when they were in Egypt for 400 years, they must have had records of where exactly this was through the I'll get there. Through the oral tradition. Okay. So Rachel has now passed away, the favored wife. Verse 21, Israel moved on again and pitched his tent beyond Migdal Elder. While Israel was living in that region, Reuben went in and slept with his father's concubine, Bilhah, and Israel heard of it. So they went on down to, never mind. I think you're still headed south. But now he's going to stay there for a little while. And Reuben, who is the firstborn, okay, Simeon and Levi, second and thirdborns, have already blown their inheritance. Reuben, now the very firstborn, Israel, notice he's being called Israel here, was living in that region. Reuben went in and slept with his father's concubine, Bilhah. Now, Reuben was Leah's child. Bilhah was Rachel's servant. Okay. She was considered a concubine, not a wife. But this was disgraceful. It was like thumbing your nose at your father. You have no power over me. I will take your concubine for myself. And so Israel heard about it. That's all it says. Israel heard about it. Well, it comes to roost back in 49:4 when Reuben, being the firstborn, should have had the blessing of the firstborn. No, he will not get that. So the first three are down as far as being the firstborn. The next one is Judah. So Judah then takes on the position of firstborn. Okay. So as we head to chapter 49, we'll see how that plays out and remember that. Now, Jacob had 12 sons. The sons of Leah, Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. Sons of Rachel's servant, Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Leah's servant, Zilpah, Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padanaram. Okay, so a couple things here. Number one, notice how these are listed. Now, he does list Leah first because those were the firstborns and would have had precedence. Then Rachel, the favored wife. And then Bilhah, Rachel's slave. You would think Zilpah because Zilpah's Leah's, but Bilhah, Rachel's slave, was next, even though Bilhah's children were older than Rachel's. And then Zilpah, Leah's slave. So that was the order they put them in, ranking them in importance. Okay. And then notice it says, these were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padanaram. Well, Benjamin wasn't born in Padanaram. But what this is saying is that these were born after he left his family, after he ran from Esau. Okay. That's just a shorthand way of saying that. Verse 27, Jacob came home to his father Isaac in Mamre near Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Okay, so he's made his way down from Bethel, down through Bethlehem, and now down to Mamre and Hebron. That is where Isaac stayed the whole time. Okay, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed. Isaac, verse 28, Isaac lived 180 years. Then he breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people, old and full of years. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So they came together for the funeral, Esau and Jacob. And at that point, Jacob's probably saying, Esau, I'm not coming to visit you. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. I got lost. My GPS went out. So Isaac has now passed away. Now, because they were at Mamre, remember what's at Mamre? Near Hebron? The one place that Abraham bought, a place to bury his wife. That's where they buried Abraham, and that's where they're burying Isaac, at the family tomb.
And they went through that same kind of dealing about that place, didn't they? Like, okay, Jacob and Esau, and you talk about the Middle Eastern bargaining,
Oh, yeah.
and when he bought this land,
He didn't have to buy this land. This land was already in the family from Abraham, passed down to Isaac.
through that same.
Abraham went through that bargaining. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. Yes. Abraham went through the bargaining to get the land. So Jacob and Esau come together one last time for Isaac's burial. And chapter 36, which we will get to starting next week, is the genealogy of Esau. And remember what Moses does with genealogies. He moves from this character to another. So what he's doing with this, going to do with this genealogy is close out Esau's story. Okay. So for next week, if you want to read 36 and 37, we might get to 38, but I doubt it. You want to read 36 and 37, maybe 38, go for it, because 36 is going to be like that. Okay. So it is easier to see where God is leading when you know where God has been. And I think the people of Israel, as they're listening to Moses give all this history, are seeing what God is really like, that God is with them, and they know what has happened in the past. They can look forward to what is going to happen in the future. All right, thank you all.